at 6:30. Hold on a second. You guys ready?
Yes, sir.
It is 6:30. We will call the July 21st, 2022 Planning Commission to order. Roll call. Brooks.
Present.
Chuck.
Here.
Brian.
Present.
Thomas.
Here.
Melissa.
Here.
Rob.
Here.
We have a quorum. Item number 3, approval of the agenda.
I so move. Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, approval of minutes of the July 7th, 2022 meeting. I know. Okay, somebody else has to pick this one up.
Move to approve.
Oh, Chuck, good job. There we go. Now we're cooking. Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5 is public comments. This is the time when anybody would like to address the commission, they can. We will give you 5 minutes. If you would like to speak to an agenda item, we will get there. I would like to remind you that we will be conducting business after the public comments. This is not an open forum. We will recognize you, and then you could come up to the podium and speak at that time. Any questions? Good. All right, anybody for public comments? Okay. Item number we got one? Come on up.
Is the public comment open for any of the new business items here? Is that what this public items for?
So the public comments are for anything you want to talk to us about. I mean, you can come up and address anything you would like. We will, when we get to the agenda items, we will be having a discussion on those, and then we will acknowledge you if we need information. Yes.
I don't have anything to share at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Then item number 6, conditional use application. This is a continuation from July 7th. I would guess. Is there anybody here for this? I believe this is for the 90 Plaza. No one? Do we need a motion to continue this to the next meeting?
Sure, that works. As far as I know, we have not received anything new from the applicant, but we did give them 30 days from the last meeting, so the next planning and zoning meeting is probably that deadline, so we will, if it's open to you all, continue it to the rest of those 30 days.
I'll make
So-
a motion to continue this.
A motion and a second to continue this to the next meeting. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, conditional use application for 204 East Holly. Let me get to the page. 21, enter. Rivals LLC. Anybody here for that? Come on up. I think that will be on. I hope it's on. If not, if you just push that button, the red light comes on. There it is.
There you go.
Beautiful.
Okay,
All right.
sure. My name is Josh Snyder, S-N-Y-D-E-R. My address is 2605 East Yorkshire Street, and that's in Sioux Falls, 57108.
All right, Josh, let us know what you'd like to do.
The plan is to open a video lottery casino,
Okay?
and we have applied for a beer and wine license as well, as required by,
So on your application, it does say on sale alcohol beverage and malt beverage and South Dakota wine. Is it just the beer and
just
wine?
beer and wine.
Okay,
Yes. Yes.
they're different.
Okay. Just beer and wine.
So you're all clear. It's just the malt beverage license. Anybody have any questions for Josh?
Was this on, 200 block of Holly,
Yes.
that right across from high school?
No, it's actually, it's about 5 blocks from here, straight up to, I don't know Brandon extremely well, I don't live here, but straight up to, what street is that cuts
This
across?
goes Main.
Yeah, there's a little strip there, and it's on the end, next to a dog grooming, I think, or there's a couple things in there, I'm not,
Something treasures?
It used to be Divine Treasures before that was a coffee house. Yes, that's the place.
What will be your hours of operation?
I believe, and that, I mean, I don't know if we've completely set those yet. I'm really not in the problem is I'm really not in that side of the operation, but I believe based on the one we have in T, the operation would start at 11 or 12 and run until 9 or 10 in the evening, I believe is our hours over there. So I think it'd probably be comparable to that.
Okay. Any other questions?
Patrick, according to the letter we all got, they claim they didn't get notified by mail.
No.
I personally sent letters to everyone. I'm sure the vast majority of the crowd here got the letter related to their issue that we sent. But
No.
everyone that is a neighbor did get a letter.
Yeah. They did say they got a letter.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
It says we did receive a letter from the city.
I misread it.
Yep. Anybody else have any questions for Josh? Okay. Anybody have any comments on this? Come on up, sir. If I could get your name and address too, that would be fantastic.
Nicholas Lanners, L-A-N.
Nicholas Lanners, Lanners.
Sure.
Address is 308 East Tabor Court
Sure.
in Brandon. So I address the council tonight. Thank you for your time and being here. But I address it since I come forward for my children. I have 7, 5, and 3, and I live within the 300 feet directly right behind this building that you see there on the screen. And I come to the podium to really say, no, I wouldn't want that. You know, within 300 feet, I received this letter, so there must be a particular reason that it is sent out to look at. Thinking about the best interest of what goes there. We can sort of see from tonight the gentleman did not specifically know the area, so it seems as if a different location could be feasible, since if this one was such a special place, it would have been like exact location. It would have been very confident, this is where it's located, this is where it's at. So it almost seems as if they're just okay with just finding somewhere. And with that being said, this particular isn't the right spot, because even my neighbor directly right behind it also has a very young family, and we're within that time frame of that 300 feet, and that type of business, I would like to say I would not want. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification
Yes, sir.
purposes, we're not here to discuss a video lottery.
Yeah, turn it on the side. Sorry about that.
Just for clarification purposes, we're not here to discuss a video lottery establishment at this location. It's simply the alcohol license, correct?
Is that right, Patrick?
Correct. There's an opinion from the South Dakota Supreme Court saying that the Department of Revenue, essentially, they control everything about video lottery permits. So that is an issue that local governments cannot control. That's why whenever they come before you, it's generally the alcohol permit. That is something that they control 100% that you cannot factor into your decision. For better or
Right.
worse, that's what the law is.
Okay. I just wanted to make that clear for,
Oh, yes. I just want to say, when I mean that type of business, not the video lottery machine, we're here for the on-sale beverage. And that was within the 300 feet, and that's within, like I said, many young children, and that's what I'm objecting to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Anybody else would like to address us on this issue? No? All right, go ahead.
so, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I think we all received a letter in the mail, and we also got a copy here tonight. So I do have a question for the city, and I just want to make sure that we address this person's comment. I'm trying to find the paragraph here again. It's in the middle of the page there. Because it's fun and enjoyable for everyone. It's because these types of situations and permit requests have caused a lot of problems for communities and more specifically the surrounding neighborhoods in the past. I just want to ask the city, we have many other establishments of this exact same service with alcohol permits right next to residential neighborhoods. Has the city ever received a complaint on any of those existing locations?
Yeah, as the code enforcement officer, I have not. I cannot speak on behalf of the Brandon Police Department, which potentially would have some calls that could come in there, or the city administrator, but I can't speak for those, but not in code enforcement.
Okay, anybody else have anything? Any discussion, anything to add, any thoughts? Go ahead.
Just maybe a clarification, since it was mentioned by the resident who came up, that the mechanism for sending the letters that people around this received, that's something new that was passed in the last several months, right? And that,
Very new.
and that's for
Yes.
any conditional use or any variance,
Any
right?
conditional use or variance?
No matter
correct.
what that is, so it's not exclusive to any condition of this property. It's something we do for all conditional uses and variances now.
Correct. Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts, comments? No?
Yes, I'll just make a comment that there is a liquor store in that same vicinity strip mall in Brandon, so I'm just, same kind of concept, I guess I would say. They're selling a alcohol product, even though they're not consuming it there, but they are selling alcohol product.
Okay. Alyssa?
Historically, there has been a video lottery place on Holly Boulevard. It was up by the Bluffs, in the building where the church is now.
Well, that was a while ago, yeah.
Yeah, it was a while ago, but it was there. Also, historically, one time, a bar wanted to build on Holly Boulevard, or wanted to be on Holly Boulevard, just north of Main Street. And and that was voted down. But that would have been a full bar, a full liquor license bar.
When was
So-
that?
That was Freddie. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's before I sat here. That might be before I was born. Alyssa.
No, it wasn't before. You were probably in high school at the time.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, well, I do.
Okay.
But I don't know if that makes any difference to anyone, but I thought I'd bring it up.
Okay.
Yeah, my understanding from these business models, they're not there to make money off of alcohol at all. They're there to make money off of machines, and they don't tolerate
Yeah.
a lot of that, the questionable behavior, so.
Come on up.
Just for clarification. This is Josh Snyder for Rivals again. Just for clarification, we do have one current operation at the Let It Fly restaurant in Sioux Falls, as well as well, they're together, but they're two separate locations in T. This would be more like the T model as a standalone. There'd be 10 machines. There is hot dogs and pizza, as well as beer and wine if that's approved. And it is primarily not sold. It is primarily just provided to players, because that is obviously, as you were mentioning, the goal is to get people to play. It can be purchased, or at least, I mean, not very much, but sometimes it is. But the idea is to get people into play, and we provide the beer and wine for the players for free, as well as the food. We've had the tea operation open for 3 or 4 months now, and have had no issues. And the Let It Fly one, the same thing. This would be a situation where there is just one front door. I certainly have a family too. I certainly understand, any potential questions, but it really is a pretty low key situation. It's not a bar. It's really just people coming and playing video machines and maybe having a drink or two and then leaving. So, just for my 2 cents. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Do other video lottery places in town serve beer or wine?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've all gone through the same process.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the application as submitted.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to approve the conditional use. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I would now, let's see. Boy, I haven't done this in a while. I would need to adjourn? No. Huh? Adjourn. We're adjourning the Planning and Zoning Commission? Or, what? Yeah, we need a motion to adjourn the P and Z.
Second.
Motion is second. Okay, here we go. To adjourn the Planning and Zoning, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Same sign. All right. Now I will call to order the Board of Adjustments. This gets a little goofy, but this is what we do. All right. Roll call, I'll skip that. Item number 10, the approval of the agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now, because we hear variances as the Board of Adjustments and we hear conditional uses as the Planning and Zoning Commission, it's kind of weird, but we will open it up for public comments again, which, again, we'll get to item number 12, and if you're here to address that, we'll do that in number 12. Otherwise, if you have anything else you would like to address us on, you're more than welcome. Okay? So, item number 12, variance application at 106 South Sandstone Avenue. Oh, that's not the right page. Come on, fingers work. Reside Property Management, reside. Somebody here from there? Justin? Nobody? Hello? Okay. So since nobody's here from the property, can you tell us a little bit about this?
Well, actually, Melissa is the one, I think, the staff received a request to provide a variance from Reside Property Management to remove the fence due to the continuing property maintenance upkeep of it.
Okay.
So the staff agreed that a variance application would be the vehicle used, and the Board of Adjustments would review whether the fence could be permanently removed or it must be, reset and permanently held in place.
So what you would like from this board is whether or not we remove it, replace it, get rid of it. So if we deny a variance, then what does that mean?
It would have to be maintained
If we,
in the proper condition, which is the
If
International
we-
Property Maintenance Code. It cannot be in disrepair.
if we approve the variance, what does that mean?
Then I believe the fence can be removed.
Fence can be removed if we approve the variance.
That's your understanding, Patrick?
Correct, that is my understanding as well.
So Paul, on this application, Reside Property Management, they're the current owners of the fence? I'm confused.
Yes.
So in this, it says, explain your hardship, constantly has damage to it, and owners are never happy with the time it takes to repair it. Are they talking about themselves?
Hold
I'm
on.
not sure. I wish that somebody from Reside was here. I'm
Yeah, me too.
surprised.
The management company, aren't they,
Yes,
Looks like that.
for the owner?
right.
Okay.
So, Mr. Parsons, I'm not sure whether they mean the owners of the property or the owners that may be in the public here.
So the variance, because we require screening, is that why the fence is there, right?
Yes, sir.
So the variance
Between-
would then,
Yes, sir. Or
So if we-
at that time, it did.
so if we grant the variance, the fence can be removed. So basically, we're allowing them to do something outside of our ordinances.
I believe so, yes.
This seems backwards, but I'm starting to, it's starting to, okay.
Was a fence required? Was a fence required at this property at the time it was constructed?
Right. To my understanding, yes, sir.
It was.
We typically have required screening between R2, R3, R1, whatever. So I would assume that this fence was providing the screening that we typically would require.
Yeah, I'm just asking if it was required at the time. There's some history submitted as part of this documentation, some meeting minutes and some other things, but I don't see that the screen, the fencing itself was addressed.
When was this? Okay. That's very interesting.
I drove up there today to look at it, and the sign announcing the hearing is by the sign that says Eagle Creek Apartments, so it can be seen from Holly. So the fence that is closest to that sign is a little fence between two sets of garages that mask all the garbage cans. Is that the sign is that the fence we're talking about?
I don't believe so.
No, which one is the fence we're talking about then?
Can you pull up a picture, Patrick, by chance?
I imagine it's probably, it's between the apartments and the houses. It's
Okay.
the whole back of it.
So a question for some of the neighbors, when they talk about repairing,
Yeah.
are they talking about you repairing it, them repairing it?
So, yeah, go
Somebody,
ahead.
yeah.
One at a time. Since nobody hears, you're good.
Is this on?
Yep.
All right,
Name
Stephen
and address.
Kramer, 1324 Meadowbrook Trail, Kremer.
What was the address again?
1324 Meadowbrook Trail. Yep. So the fence that they're talking about is the fence that divides our homes with the commercial property, with the apartment complex. And again, over time, since my wife and I have lived there for over 3 years, it's fallen over a couple times. They take their sweet time to fix it. it happened again during the windstorm that we had. Again, there's a straight line wind that I guess I can talk to a little bit more. I know that's why we're not here. That took down the fence in the back of our property. And then May 12th, when there was that other large windstorm that came through, it took down much of our neighbor's fence. And so, again, like everything, it's taking time, and I'm sure it's, you know, hard to find someone to do it. And so what they're doing is just asking to get rid of it overall, which is the separation that we have. And again, what we understand is that when the agreement was initially put in place years ago, prior to us ever owning this home, was that that was part of it, and again, an ordinance that we thought of, I guess. And so, like I say, to me, I think it's the easy way out, is what they're asking for. On a completely different note, when that straight line wind came through, there was rotted out fencing that separated our home from the apartment. I have pictures I can show you guys if needed. The fence lifted from the ground, went through our house. There was a hole in the side of our house, went through our deck. There's roughly about $11,000 worth of damage to our home. Our insurance company here in town tried to reach these owners, could not get a hold of them. So in order to get this thing moving, I had to do the claim. So my deductible, all of that. So one, they're not maintaining the fence, first of all. And second of all, now that it's pushed over, they're just asking, can we not put it back up? And again, we can see how important it is to them that they're not even coming to the meeting. So it's frustrating for people that have kids that want to run in the backyard. Again, my wife and I, when we first moved to town, we actually did live in this apartment complex through the previous owners for 6 months. So like I say, we know that we had to do like a background screen, things like that. But again, we don't know whose families are in there, things like that. And again, you know, it's one extra safety thing that we can have while our kids are running in the backyard. That's what we're here for. Again, I don't want to speak for anyone else, but I know that we are frustrated by it.
So let me ask you a quick, you want the fence to stay?
Absolutely, 100%, yes.
So that you guys.
In good condition too. So like, again, previous owners, but when, prior to when we bought our house, it was in 2019, it was right around September 2019, there was another windstorm that came through, the whole thing was laying flat. So rather than fix the part that was on our property, they fixed half of it. Well, after the windstorm, what part's standing? The half that they fixed. The other part is the one that went through our home. So, like I say, it's very frustrating not seeing the upkeep, but it's also equally as frustrating seeing them trying to get out of this as well. So, thank you.
You bet. Anybody else? Come on up. Go ahead and punch the button, and I'll name and address. Thank you.
My name's Josh Fales. I live at 1412 West Meadowbrook Trail in Brandon, along with my mother-in-law. We are the farthest property to the west that has the most section of fence owned by Reside. We have had a section down since November 21st during one of the winter blizzards that caused damage to the fence. Being a good neighbor, I didn't bother them because I know that you cannot fix a fence in the wintertime. The ground has to thaw. So I did not bother. Once it got to April and May, I started contacting them to get it fixed. Then we had the other two storms that removed probably 75% of the fence around the property that they own. Also causing pulling sections of our fence down between me and my neighbors because it was tied into their post that we have yet to fix because we need it fixed, their section fixed before we tie in, so we don't cause an issue when they repair their fence. I have reached out numerous times asking when they plan to get it. Their answer was to bring out a piece of chain link fence to cover the hole that was in the fence, which, fine, that keeps people out until it all fell down. Now, I personally have pictures of the entire fence along the side, the back of all my property and all of my neighbors that go all the way down. If you would care to see those, I'm more than willing to send them to you or show them to you.
You guys want to see them? I mean, can we look at them if we can't put them in the?
If you have an email address, I can email them to you real fast.
Yeah.
I don't need to see a picture, there's no hardship here. Zero.
The other question that we have was, they just replaced the entire roof on that apartment building, which I would imagine was taken care of by insurance. Why they didn't include the fence on the insurance, claim is something that I was meaning to ask them while we were here, but they don't care enough to show up to the meeting, they don't care enough about their neighbors, and we really don't want the variance to go through. We weren't allowed to, we felt obligated not to put our pool back up this year due to the fact that we didn't want any children coming in the backyard or anybody else getting into our pool and getting hurt. That would be a liability on us. So it's caused some problems throughout the neighborhood with my neighbors and everything else. They haven't even bothered to come and clean up the fence. It's still laying there. Their lawn care maintenance company wants to come by, throw the fence on everybody else's property to mow, and we just go back out there and throw it back over.
Okay. I guess question for Paul. Do they have a timeline to fix this fence?
Well, they would, if I got a formal complaint, then we would put a reasonable, but at this point, you know, my office has not been asked for them to officially put the fence back.
Okay.
I think Melissa's had some conversations.
I spoke with Melissa multiple times. She reached out to the apartment, or you did, reached out and asked them to get it fixed, which they said, I believe it was 30 days to get it fixed, and that was back in April. They did not fix it. As far as the neighbor that would probably be the one that's badgering them about the timeline to get it done, I've talked to him 3 times.
Okay. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on up.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
Good.
My name is Mark Bureau. Last name is B as in boy, U-R-A-U. I live at 1401 West Meadowbrook Trail. I actually live across the street. I am not as impacted as others, but I have lived here since Black Friday of 2019. Came here from the great state of Minnesota. I have chosen Brandon based on 2 things. One of them being that the school system was second to none, and I firmly believe that. The second one, the reason that I chose Brandon was because I wanted to live in a community that takes care of itself. I wanted a community that wanted to retain as much of the small town values that I personally love and adore. And I feel as we grow, as Sioux Falls grows closer to us, we're only going to be further inundated with things like large construction, large multifamily residences, and all of those kinds of things. And I believe that it sets an ugly precedent if the things that I appreciate of this town are allowed even once to be skipped over without a due hardship, because it just means the next person that comes through, it isn't what they're going to try to do, it's what they're going to demand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, as Chuck mentioned, this property, in order to qualify for a variance, the property would have to have some kind of hardship. That's not?
Yeah,
No, it does.
that's true.
Oh, yeah.
You are
No,
true.
no.
Correct.
In order to qualify
Yep.
for a hardship, or in order to qualify for a variance, the property itself would have to have some kind of hardship. I'm not seeing any hardship, so therefore I don't see that this property would qualify for a variance,
Correct.
which means, in my opinion, the fence should stay.
Okay.
I move that we deny the request. I'll second.
Motion and a second. Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of denying the variance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
One
There we
other
go.
question for Paul. Do you need formal complaints from these neighbors to do something?
Okay, coming out of tonight's meeting, we'll move forward here out of my office.
I think this is formal enough.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you all. We appreciate it.
You can go ahead and stay.
Well, we only have one item left, so.
And come again.
Thank you.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn the Board of Adjustments.
Second.
Motion is second to adjourn the Board of Adjustments. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Same sign. So I will now reconvene the Planning and Zoning Commission. And it looks like item number 13, discussion on allowing septic tanks in R1 low-density residential districts as conditional use or under specified criteria. So, we just did 12. So, this is further discussion, or if anybody has any other thoughts on this, or direction for Patrick, I guess.
So we did have a few people gone at the last meeting. So what the group kind of came up with, and it's a work in progress that I'm writing up, was that there was no interest in creating an additional zoning district for these lots that we anticipate will be larger lots. And there was also an interest in making sure they had the infrastructure in place when they build such a development. That way, it's not a huge cost whenever they would get annexed in, that they would have to all of a sudden incur a whole lot of expense to install sewer systems. So that's where that kind of left off. In here is a lot of information just to look at how other places do it, but there will be a draft of something to start with at the next planning and zoning meeting. I more or less just wanted this information included for the people that weren't here last time, so they had access to the same information so they can review and provide input.
Go ahead.
So, thanks for all of the information. That's one thing I appreciate when we have Patrick do something, he gets us a lot of information. I had time to read through some of it. I did before the last meeting, but a couple things caught my eye. One of them most specifically related to the Mitchell one. They did require that within 60 days after city services were available, mandatory that they had to hook up. I don't know if that's something we want to consider, to put a time restraint. I know last time we talked about they need to put the infrastructure and connect out to the cities,
Easement, yep.
you know, out in the right of way, even though it's not active yet. But do we want to put a mandatory time frame or let them continue to use it? And then the other thing I noticed was they did have some distance restrictions relative to lakes and waterways.
Okay.
So I know we do have the Sioux River here. If that's something we also want to consider protecting.
So since we still do have a crowd, I will provide some background so you're just all not confused what we're talking about. So Brandon is in the middle of some topographic issues. Brandon is surrounded by two rivers, and it is difficult to get sewer service through and under and around a river. It is extraordinarily expensive, so that limits potential growth. And most cities are concerned with cramming people in as small spaces as you can get them. This more or less started from the reverse of that market. There are, of course, a lot of people out there that want larger lots. You'll see the subdivisions around Sioux Falls with their larger lots. Since they are kind of disconnected, they start off with a private sewer system, a septic tank. And the city of Brandon requires you, once you are part of the city, to be connected to city sewer. The transitions, should the city reach out and annex them, installing a whole system ahead of time, and not only getting the city service to them would be incredibly expensive, not only for the city, but for the landowner. So how do we continue to expand? But there's that rule that you have to be connected to the sewer system. It would take a while for us to get it to you, but if you want to be part of the city before that, how to make it work. So that's kind of the discussion on the table, allowing potentially certain places that are actually part of the city to use septic systems. So whether that is, once we actually get it out there, they have to go in at a certain time. Some discussion was, should some developer buy a huge chunk of land and of course subdivide it out into larger estate properties, that they install that infrastructure ahead of time and still allow the septic, but that way it's less of an expense for the homeowner once time comes to be connected to the city system, that all of a sudden they're not hit with a huge bill. So that's kind of the discussion.
That was well said.
So on Brian's comment, I definitely think there should be some distances required if they're close to any of our rivers.
Are you taking notes?
So I agree with that one. I guess I'd have to think about the other one, because if we didn't do that, they wouldn't have to hook up until something failed in their septic system, right?
Or until they voluntarily.
They did it themselves.
Myself, I like that, I don't know if it's 60 days or whatever, but, because it'd be easy to hook up because all the infrastructure's there. So I think we should have a time frame where they gotta hook up if it's, the city's coming by with a sewer line.
Doesn't matter what it's 60 days, 90 days.
Yeah,
something reasonable.
yeah, I mean, if 60 days is the answer, that, but it could be a year, I don't know, just something, because I think it's pretty simple to do it once it's all there already, so I think force their hand and make them hook up.
Yeah, 60 might be restrictive. A year might be more reasonable.
Yeah. I think, I don't think we want this to be a long-term solution, so I think we want to do something to, I don't want to say force them, but, definitely encourage them to make this transition. Like you said, all the piping's there, all the infrastructure's there, all they need to do is, flip a valve and close off the old system, so.
And whatever time limit we put on it, we can say that if you can't get somebody to work on it, say for 6 months or something, they could come in and get some sort of an extension, so we document that. Or something.
In this week's Brandon newspaper, there was a story about somebody who wants to develop big lots up north, where all the streets are named after rocks and stuff. What's that develop? Stone Ridge.
Okay.
Would that, is
No.
that a place where we're talking
No.
about? No.
No,
Because we
because-
can get sewer there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if I remember correctly, isn't that already in the city limits? All that property was annexed a long
Okay.
time ago.
And so, Patrick, one time you said there were one or more developers have mentioned this, and I would like to see on a map what areas around town they're talking about. Somebody over coffee said, oh, over by McCarty Park, south of is that one? And somebody else, what you
So-
hear.
Some areas that come to my mind are gonna be just on the other side of the state park, the Country Gables area. I know there was 40 acres that was just recently sold off. I don't know if that was an intended area there, but
Just west of the state park, south of the bluffs.
So,
if you go west.
And then what's
if you
that
go west from the
neighborhood
new
on?
school, west from the new school.
yeah. So there's land available west of the state park, up Maple, from basically the river to Highway 100. Now, we only service the 6 Mile Road.
But the building permits are all taken because of the county's restrictions.
And
so
the-
the only
yes.
way they can put more lots, more houses in, is to be annexed in the city.
Yes. Yes, you can, yes.
That's pretty much, you get anywhere within 2 miles outside of the city of Brandon, there's no building permits left.
Yes.
Because they're all
The,
taken.
the county,
The
yes.
county's restricted, 1 per 40 acres per section.
They didn't used to, which is why the country subdivisions happened. The county has said that density is going to be pushed to the cities, whether it's Brandon, whether it's Sioux Falls, Harrisburg, whatever. So they're purposefully, if you want to develop property, it has to be within a city limits. So, but to get them city services requires an incredible expense from the city to get the services there.
No, it's terrible expensive to retrofit anything.
So that is west of the river, that is also east of the river. Yeah, yeah. We got lots of rivers around here. Yeah. They're just little creeks at certain times, but then they become rivers at some times. Yes.
All the stuff that's easily developed.
Is.
From an infrastructure standpoint has been.
Kind of.
Both
What's
from
the-
a developer standpoint and the city.
What's the name of the neighborhood on Maple
I don't know.
that, huh? Country Gables?
Well, there's
Yeah.
two of them. There's one on each side of the road.
Country Gables.
I'm talking about the one on the north side of the road.
That's Country Gables.
So this is, would this go, are you talking about area that would go up to them?
Yeah. And beyond them.
Okay.
In my opinion, as long as, I like what we've talked about in that it's designed as a temporary use, and I think I do like the idea of having some kind of a date in there. I think we could figure out what that time frame is, not a date, but as we go along, and I think as we do that, that if that can provide a incentive for developers to seek annexation into the city and develop some properties that would be basically impossible to develop otherwise. I like that direction we're going. As long as we stay on that path, I'm intrigued.
I like hearing you say that septic tanks would be a temporary solution. If these get divided into big lots, so like 4 or 5 acres, and so you're living in a little country gable, you have a septic tank, but then later you decide to subdivide. Now you have 30 houses instead of just one. Would that mean we'd have 30 septic tanks instead of just one? I would hate to
No.
see that.
No, because in our ordinance, we can write a lot requirement.
And the other part I like about what we've discussed with the infrastructure being there from the development is it's a totally separate discussion, but some other discussions that have come up about assessments and things where there's a few unique situations where all of us, we paid for that sewer infrastructure when we bought our houses because it was developed, the initial development. So this will take care of that, and I like that part because I wouldn't want a problem later on where some reason that, so that to me fits too, and I think that's.
And if they're gonna subdivide it, it would have to go through a preliminary plan through the city anyway, and it would have to be approved. So there are checks in place to prevent what you just said.
At one of the prior meetings, a gentleman came in and he recommended that we require a licensed engineer to design the system. And so in my mind, that's going to put your property size limit. And that would take that off of us, that, it's got to be 5 acres, or it's got to be 2.3 acres, or 2 acres, or whatever. They're going to have enough land for that drain field, based on, density of landscape left after a house is put on it, so.
Patrick, did you get enough out of that?
Yep, I have some notes, and I hope to have something to you next meeting, and we'll pick through it, and we'll work it out.
Does anybody else have any thoughts or questions?
It won't be cheap. I mean, because they're gonna, when they develop the lot, they're gonna have the cost of the utilities in there.
Yes.
They're gonna be required to put the piping out to the public right away.
Yes.
Where it can connect to a utility. They're gonna have to pay for the septic system. They're gonna have to pay for the engineering services to have it done. So this is not gonna be something cheap that they're gonna cram in a bunch of houses to do.
No. It will be cheaper than having to retrofit at a later date.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, anybody else? We good? Well, I see nothing else on the agenda, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned at 7:19. Thank you all.